Hello everyone, welcome to this series on the history of English literature. And this video is the first part on the novel in interwar years. Introduction. The interwar years, spanning the fragile peace between World War I and World War II, mark a watershed in the development of English novel. In this period, a political upheaval, economic uncertainty, and spiritual crisis, the novel emerged as a profound and versatile medium to explore and interpret the disintegrating certainties of the age. The trauma of World War I had not merely left behind physical devastation, it had also shaken the foundations of belief systems, societal structures, and moral values that had hitherto guided human life. As traditional institutions and ideals crumbled, the novel stepped forward, not only to reflect the turbulent realities of the age, but also to grapple with the deeper philosophical and psychological consequences of modern existence. The aftermath of war, a crisis of values, the disillusionment and moral vacuum that followed the First World War permeate the literature of the interwar years. The sheer scale of destruction, the mechanization of death, and the futility of trench warfare left an indelible mark on the psyche of whole generation. This resulted in widespread cynicism and despair, as ideals such as honor, duty, and progress were exposed as hollow rhetoric. The war had discredited the 19th century optimism about human nature and the benevolence of social institutions. The post-war world appeared fragmented, absurd, and devoid of coherent meaning. No literary form responded to this existential rupture more dynamically than the novel. Its inherent elasticity, its capacity to absorb various voices, perspectives, and formal innovations made it the ideal medium for interpreting the complex and often contradictory realities of the interwar period. The novel retained its supremacy among literary forms not because it offered comforting truths, but because it dared to pose difficult questions, to mirror the inner disarray of its time. The search for new values. One strand of interwar fiction represents an earnest attempt to reconstruct values amid the ruins of old certainties. Writers such as E.M. Forster and Aldous Huxley sought to explore what might replace the moral compass shattered by war. Forster's A Passage to India, 1924, interrogates not only the colonial encounter but also the deeper human need for connection and understanding across cultural and existential divides. His famous dictum, "Only connect," captures a tentative moral imperative in a fragmented world. Similarly, Huxley's Brave New World, 1932, offers a satirical vision of a society that has replaced emotional and spiritual depth with technological control and consumer satisfaction, urging readers to reflect on the cost of abandoning humanistic values. These novelists, though not always offering direct prescriptions, strove to articulate new ethical frameworks. They did not retreat from the moral crisis of the age. Instead, they probed its contours in order to chart alternative paths toward meaning. The novel as a mirror of complexity. A second group of interwar novelists chose not to propose new systems of belief but to represent faithfully the bewildering complexity of contemporary life. Writers like Virginia Woolf and James Joyce focused on the fluid and often chaotic nature of human experience. Rather than presenting clear narratives with moral conclusions, they embraced fragmentation and ambiguity as inherent aspects of Modern Consciousness, Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway 1925 and To the Lighthouse 1927 and Joyce's Ulysses 1922 exemplify this approach. These works employ stream of consciousness techniques to enter the minds of their characters, presenting time as subjective and reality as a matter of perception. In these novels, the external world is not fixed or objectively known but refracted through the shifting consciousness of individuals. By doing so, they challenge the conventions of plot-driven fiction and instead suggest that truth lies in the minute impressions and fleeting thoughts that constitute inner life. While these works do not offer explicit interpretations of life, they suggest that the very act of consciousness, of perceiving and remembering, is a valid and perhaps the only remaining form of meaning-making in a fractured world. The turn inward, psychological and existential exploration. Perhaps the most profound innovation of interwar fiction lies in its inward turn. A third and influential group of writers, disenchanted with the external world and its failed promises, turned their attention to the individual's inner life. In their hands, the novel became a vehicle for examining the impact of modernity on consciousness itself. Here, the concern is not with action or plot, but with character, how individuals think, feel, and experience the world. In the novels of D.H. Lawrence, for instance, the inner struggles of characters reveal a profound engagement with issues of identity, desire, and repression. Lawrence's Women in Love 1920 and The Rainbow 1915 delve into the psychological and emotional dynamics of relationships, emphasizing instinct and vitality over social convention. Similarly, Jean Rhys's Voyage in the Dark 1934 explores alienation and identity through the eyes of a marginalized woman, laying bare the psychic toll of displacement and patriarchy. This inward focus also marks the works of lesser-known yet significant writers who sought to understand what it meant to be a self in a world without moral anchors. These novelists did not necessarily explain or moralize, rather they offered a portrayal, often painful and unresolved, of what it means to exist amid uncertainty. In doing so, they made the novel a space where private anxieties and public disintegration could find artistic expression. Conclusion. In interwar years, the novel functioned as both a mirror and an interpreter of life. It did not merely reflect the external events of its time, but sought to make sense of the psychological, ethical, and existential consequences of a world unmoved from its traditional foundations. Whether through efforts to reconstruct value systems, representations of social and cultural complexity, or exploration of individual consciousness, the novel responded with remarkable versatility and depth. The novel's enduring supremacy during this era testifies to its unique ability to register the anxieties, ambiguities, and aspirations of a generation caught between two cataclysmic wars. In a world where meaning itself was in question, the novel offered not easy answers, but a space for serious inquiry, where life, in all its disarray, could be observed, imagined, and however provisionally understood. So this was the first video on the novel in interwar years. We will meet in the next video and discuss some other aspects of the novel in interwar years. Until then, goodbye and thank you.